Today on Ballistic Barbecue, I'm going to be putting the Zelos-450 pellet grill from Brisk It to the test by cooking up a 5-pound rack of beef short ribs. And I'm going to be allowing their AI, their generative AI app, to run this entire cook. Let's see what happens. First off, big thank you to Brisk It for sponsoring this video. The first thing I'm going to do is give you a nice overview of this cooker, show you its features, its functions, all of its attributes, and then we're going to take a deeper dive into the amazing app that can run this cooker for you, manage your cooks. You can even pull up recipes and cook those recipes with this app if you want to. And then I'm going to cook up a beautiful rack of beef ribs. The first thing I want to do is talk about the price, because for what this is offering, as far as features, I think the price is pretty amazing. Very, very affordable. It's retailing right now at $400, but as of the day I'm shooting this video, which is about 3 days before I am posting this video, I looked up and Lowe's has this, they've knocked off $100, so it's like $300. And then same with Amazon, they've knocked off over $100, so it's like $296 or something to that effect on Amazon. So you might want to take a look at this. Again, just from when I was putting it together and everything, and all the pellet grills I've reviewed in my life, this is a lot of bang for the buck. Anyway, let's take a look at it. So first off, the construction, it's cold rolled steel, which is powder coated. The overall weight is 75 pounds. This is Brisk It's smallest grill and the most basic grill of their whole lineup. It is giving you a PID controller, which I can tell you there are a lot of grills more expensive than this that aren't offering the PID, which is pretty amazing. The overall length from the end of the shelf to the end of the handle here is a little over 4 feet, 50 inches. And the height of this cooker, about 39 inches. So its name, its designation is the Zelos-450. It has 450 square inches of cooking surface. We'll take a look at that right now. Lower grate's porcelain coated, and then upper grate, which is removable, also porcelain coated. The depth is 15.5 inches. And the width is about 21 inches. So basically this is going to give you, 2 racks of St. Louis ribs side by side here, one up here. Or if you used a rack, removed this and used a rack, you could get probably 5 racks of ribs. It's definitely large enough to hold, one brisket. You're definitely not going to be feeding a crowd of people with this, but for a small family, this is an awesome size. So it has a side shelf with hangers for your tools, and it measures 10.5 inches wide, and the depth is 13.5 inches. You'll notice when looking at it, there's no smokestack. So what they've done is on the back of the cooking chamber, they have a series of holes, 5 holes to be exact, and then a smoke deflector. And here's a look at those holes from the inside. So let's remove the cooking grates. I'll show you the inside workings. You can see it has a heat deflector, which also serves as a drip pan. The grease is directed through this opening and exits into this collector right here with a handle on it. All right. It's a nice full-size fire pot right there. Here's our hopper. It's a 12-pound hopper. And 12 pounds is pretty common for a pellet grill this small, but you'll need to be aware of that on those longer cooks, like say, a brisket. So here's a controller. And I said this is a PID controller, but as I also said, this particular model is the most basic model that Brisk It has. So this is a very kind of bare bones as far as display. It's a LED display giving you, temperatures and times and everything like that. Their higher end models have pretty amazing LCD displays. So like I said, this gives you all the data that you really need to cook, but their upper end models have really, really cool looking displays here. So with it plugged in, we'll hit the power switch and you'll turn the knob to select your temperatures. Then you'll push the button to actually turn it on. There's no pellets in it. I'm not going to turn it on. Here you have your set temperature. So right now it's set for 180. Your actual temperature, the actual temperature inside the cooking chamber. Then you have a timer. Then you have two displays for your probes, probe A and probe B. These will be the temperatures. So the stand is pretty basic, but this thing is actually very, very rigid. It doesn't wobble or anything. Has a nice set of wheels on it, and they're set pretty wide. So if you were pulling it or pushing it across, like say, uneven surfaces on your yard or whatever, it's not going to turn over. You don't have to worry about that. It has a pretty wide stance. The handle's pretty basic, mounted to the hopper here. And again, you can easily push this around. For a pellet grill in this price line, I think it's pretty cool looking. It has a nice style. It has Brisk It right here and their logo, laser cut in. A nice stainless steel handle. And their logo is also displayed on these panels right here between the legs, both sides. You know, I think one of the biggest selling points of this grill would be the generative AI app that you can use to run and manage your cooks. I think especially for your novice out there who doesn't have a whole lot of experience grilling or barbecuing, I think it would be beneficial. They could actually use it to learn off of, so they don't have to depend on the app to have successful cooks. So what I'm going to do now is shut down my cameras. I'm going to do a burn-in just to make sure that any residue that was left behind from manufacturing is gone. That would be boring. I'm not going to video that. Then I'm going to play around with this. Before I really take a deep dive into the app, I want to make sure that I'm proficient in it and that I've learned the app and all of its features so I can show you that. So when you next see me again, it'll be tomorrow morning, and we're going to be starting up a cook. It defaults on the app to novice because you can put in what your experience level is. I'm going to use it at the novice level, and I'm going to do everything this app is telling me to do on this cook to see how it turns out. So I'll see you tomorrow. Good morning. That burn-in went really well. I'm very, very pleased with what I saw in regards to the temperatures. They were very stable. Pellet consumption did not eat up a lot of pellets, and the amount of smoke I saw, everything just worked out very well. One thing I do want to mention before I forget, because I will, is your Wi-Fi requirements. This requires 2.4 gigahertz connection in order to connect with your Wi-Fi. So I know a lot of the modems nowadays, and ours is 5 gigs and also the 2.4. So I had no issues there, but that is a consideration. Again, you don't need Wi-Fi to run this cooker. And so far I'm very pleased. So pleased, in fact, what I did was, because I was playing with the app, I ran basically a simulated cook for 6 hours. And I will say that, you know, was some concern because of this 12-pound hopper, but when I opened the lid, I barely saw a dent. And, you know, when you kind of wrap your head around it, this isn't a real big cooker. So the nice thing about that is it all balances out as far as it doesn't take a whole lot of energy from those pellets to keep this thing up to temp. So I barely saw a difference in the hopper when I checked it out after that cook. So as I said, I'm going to be cooking up a nice rack of beef short ribs. I already have those seasoned. This isn't like a tutorial on how to cook. I wanted to demo this cooker. What I'm going to do now is walk you through the app. All right, and here's the app. And as you can see, they have recipes they're suggesting for easy access at the top here. You can select on if you want to cook. But what we're going to do is use their AI. We're using what they call Vera. So I'm going to push down this little microphone here, and I'm going to tell this app what I want to cook. Let's cook Texas-style smoked beef short ribs. Just skimming through the recipe here, seeing if I want to make any changes. And here's the recipe that it is suggesting, but I want to point out some things. It defaults to 225, which is a good smoking temperature, but I want to cook this quicker, as I said. The other thing it's saying is it wants me to spritz with apple cider vinegar every hour. I want to change that to water. So what I'm going to do is push that red microphone button again. Change cooking temperature to 250 degrees and spritz to water. And as you can see, it changed the cooking temperature and spritzed with water. Want to make one more change. Although I love doing beef ribs and brisket with salt and pepper, I want to season this with a good rub. So change salt and pepper seasoning to rub. And there we are. Listing a rub there now. 250 degrees cooking temperature and spritzing with water. And here are those beef ribs. All right, get those ribs down and we'll get the thermometer in place. Shut the lid. So we just followed the first step, which is place the ribs on the grill and smoke at 250. So we're doing that right now. So now what I'm going to do is send this to the grill. So it's asking me if I want to confirm that we're actually going to allow this to start running the cooker. So obviously we only have the one grill. And there we are. All right, now we are cooking, and as long as I have a Wi-Fi connection, I can make changes to the temperatures, to the cooking times, whatever, with their app. Next step will be spritzing every hour. I will get notifications. It'll pop up on the phone with a tone telling me, hey, it's time to spritz those ribs. And then at 170, we will be pulling these ribs from the cooker, wrapping them in butcher paper. So see you then. All right, we are an hour in. I just received a notification to spritz, and let's see, we are currently sitting at 94 degrees on the temp of the ribs. Let's take a peek. I have not looked at these since I put them on. They definitely need some spritzing. So I'm just going to wait for the next notification to spritz in another hour, and then it's that 170 mark. All right, so we just hit that 170. You can see the message right here, wrap ribs. Pop right down to 169, but you know how neat it is. And there's those ribs looking good. Back on. So now you can see the next step is finish the cooking, and we're going to 203. As I said earlier in the video, I wanted to do this cook as a novice, so I'm using the novice defaults on this app. But again, you can go into your profile and change your skill level. One thing I did want to show you though, as I was perusing the app, if you're a novice and you're following these guidelines, it's a good way to start your journey of learning barbecue. They're relying heavily on temperatures, and that'll get you there. Ultimately, you're going to want to learn how to tell the doneness by, the texture of the meat, how tender it is. The stall, briskets will stall and they'll lock in on, like, say 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and they'll stay there forever. So on this app, it has what they call a stall alert. So if it detects that the meat, like say the brisket's been locked in on that temperature for quite some time, you'll get an alert, like a warning, say stall detected. There's tutorials you can go in, if you click on learn, and one of the learning lessons is how to deal with a stall. Okay, the ribs are done, and as soon as I pull the meat, I have to hit this red button, and it's going to start my rest period. So let's hit this. Countdown has started. I'll shut down the pit. Just hold this button down for a few seconds. And now it's going to go into cool down mode. Anyway, I'll see you guys in 30 minutes. Right, here we are all rested up. I can tell you, it smells really, really good. And I want to say before I forget to say, this cooker runs extremely stable. It was plus or minus like 5 to 10 degrees the entire cook. So even without the benefit of that, the AI app, I like this cooker just for the price point with the PID sensor alone. I think makes it worth the money for sure. All right, let's see how we did here. Very tender. Bones loose. Yeah. A couple of the bones definitely came loose, but that happens sometimes with short ribs. That's just what happens. All right, I wanted to get it on a lighter board just so you could really see the smoke ring. Look at that. That is just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let me pull that from the bone. Yeah, it's got some good smoky flavor. That rub tastes good. It's my buddy Cosmo's rub. I don't have any negative things to say about this cook. I'm calling this a successful cook. This is good. This is really good barbecue. I'd pay to eat this barbecue. The thing I'm really, really happy about is I cooked it in the novice skill level. So I was literally allowing the app to dictate what I did. I'm sure, you know, a lot of you folks out there who do barbecue a lot, you get, you know, phone calls from your friends who just bought a pit, you know, just bought a pellet grill, whatever, asking questions. And one of the questions they always ask, or two of the questions, is how long and what temperature? In other words, what temperature will the meat be done? That's always not an easy answer to give. I mean, with steaks you can, but with these type of meats and brisket especially, you can't say, oh, it'll be done at. So this is taking you right into the range where you know, briskets or, you know, short ribs will be done. And I think that's good for a novice to learn and then start pushing it a little bit longer, you know, and going off of tenderness rather than, you know, times and exact temperatures. While I was waiting for this to finish the resting period, I went into the app and I changed my profile from novice to expert to see what the difference would be in the recipes. And what I had noticed, actually the only real difference that I noticed was the temperatures were still in there, including the done temperatures like cook until 203, but all the time parameters were gone. So it wasn't giving you a time. It was just cooking to temp. So it would have been, you know, put the ribs on, cook till 170, remove, wrap, put back on, cook till 203. It wasn't giving you, again, 3 hours and 1.5 hours, anything like that. So that's the difference as far as the skill levels on the app. I'm standing behind my words. Even without the app, I think this thing is definitely worth $400. Again, it's on sale at some of the stores. So I would check them out. I'll have a link down below. But yeah, let me know what you think about cooking with AI in the comments. Anyway, thank you for stopping by. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the notification bell. Thumb it up if you like it. I hope you did. This was a fun video for me to cook. See you on the next one. Cheers.